Norfolk City Council is now in session. We'll stand for a moment of silence and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Clanton?
Present.
Mrs. Doyle?
Present.
Mrs. Johnson?
Present.
Mr. McGee?
Present.
Mr. Page?
Present.
Mr. Smeagol?
What are y'all being so proper for? Here.
Mr. Thomas?
Here.
Dr. Alexander?
The motion is to dispense with the reading of the minutes of our previous meeting.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smeagol?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution certifying the closed meeting.
A resolution certifying a closed meeting of the Council of the City of Norfolk in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Adopt the resolution. Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. McGee?
Aye.
Mr. Page?
Aye.
Mr. Smeagol?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Dr. Alexander?
Aye. Good evening and welcome to the Norfolk City Council meeting. Tonight, we'll begin with 2 ceremonial items, then public comments on consent and regular agenda items, followed by public hearings. Then the consent agenda, which will be voted on in a block. Following the consent agenda, we'll take up regular agenda items and then new business. To address the council, you should register to speak with the clerk prior to 3 p.m. When your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name, your address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Before we begin, Mr. Clerk, will you please read the rules governing tonight's meeting?
Certainly. City Council rules permit each speaker 3 minutes in total to speak on any and or all consent and agenda docket items at each monthly meeting. If in advance of tonight's meeting you registered with the clerk to comment on any public hearing matter, you will receive an additional 3 minutes for that item as well. As you approach the council, you'll notice a timer on the lectern. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, the green light will activate. 2.5 minutes into your remarks, you'll notice a yellow light indicating that you have 30 seconds to finish your comments. At the end of the 3 minutes, you'll see a red light and hear a beep. We ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on docket matters, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a profane, disruptive, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. All remarks should be made directly to the City Council as a body rather than to any particular member of council, staff, or the audience. Comments on an agenda item should be germane to that item. A speaker who fails to comply with the basic rules of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. And as a reminder, no sign, placard, poster, or like material, which may be carried by hand, shall be permitted in the City Council chamber or adjoining areas.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The first ceremony item I would like to call to the podium the Norview High School boys basketball team head coach, Ricardo Foster, and members of the team. And team, please stand. And as you do, I want to recognize Superintendent Dr. Jeff Rose, Principal Jacobs Sumbury, AD Steve Sutmiller, School Board members, Chair Tiffany Moore Buffalo, and members Colonel Ken Paulson and Alfreda Thomas, as well as T.J. Adams from Norview. And Mr. Smeagol has made it very clear that he's an alum. And and so please welcome, and as I read the and all, please stand. Just go quiet. Norview, stand. You're champion, stand up. All right. Dr. Rose, whoever wants to come to the podium, I'm going to read the proclamation, and then we will have photos and we'll make a presentation. And it reads, whereas under the leadership of head coach Ricardo Foster, the Norview High School Pilots captured the 2026 Virginia High School League Class 5 boys basketball state championship, defeating champion Green Run High School of Virginia Beach in a thrilling 58-55 final held at VCU's Siegel Center in Richmond, Virginia. And whereas the pilots displayed exceptional athletic ability, discipline, and sportsmanship throughout the season, demonstrating remarkable determination as they battled their way to the state title while proudly representing Northview High School and the city of Norfolk. And whereas the players, coaches, and support staff worked tirelessly to achieve this championship, inspiring their school community and exemplifying the values of perseverance, unity, and excellence both on and off the court. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Kenneth Cooper Alexander, Mayor of the City of Norfolk, do hereby recognize and congratulate Coach Foster and the Northview High School boys basketball team for winning the 2026 Virginia High School League Class 5 State Championship and for their exceptional achievements, which have brought great pride and honor to their school and to the city of Norfolk. Given in my hand this 14th day of April, 2026. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you, Mayor.
Coach, you don't get off that easy. We're going to have everyone to come up. We'll take some pictures, but if you want to say anything before we do, this is your opportunity, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you all for inviting us here. It was a great season. Again, the young guys, they showed a lot of perseverance and discipline all season, and it's not that easy to win a state championship. So, you know, when you get that opportunity, I advise any other program man to take advantage of it and enjoy it, because, you know, my team, we missed that opportunity in the 2020 season with COVID. So going through this moment right now is just very surreal, and I'm humbled to be in this position. You know, and I want to thank you all again.
All right, Coach. Team, come on up. Coaches, school board members, come on up here. And come on up. We're going to come up. Everybody's come up here. We're trying to squeeze.
We need the guard. Yeah.
Come on.
You guys have
Congratulations, young man.
Oh, the mayor said something.
I need the superintendent, I need the school board chair, JP, you're going to have to let her go.
Yes, sir.
And, thank you, Tim. All right, where's the coach? All right, slide down a little bit. Slide down a little bit, make sure we get the team. All right, and where's the coach? Coach, come on, coach.
I'm gonna stand in between the two.
Right.
Your locks don't block
Ken,
my
can make sure we're seeing. All right, everybody can see? Ken, I can't see you. Can you see?
Yeah, I know.
Can you see? Can everybody see? Make sure. Okay. Noel, make sure you can see everyone's face before you start taking. Tell us what to do.
Who can't see? Me.
Who you can't see? All right, make sure.
Who's the best player on the team?
The team.
All right. One more. We're going to one more. We're going to say go Pilots. So come on, Noel. Noel, one more. Go Pilots. All right. All right. You know we got to do it.
It's also my alma mater, Mayor Alexander.
Okay.
There's some
All right,
great
on
pilots
three.
out here.
1, 2, 3. Go Pilots! All right.
That's right. First game was close. Thank you, sir.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
I heard. I gotta get the job back.
Councilman Smigiel, did you hear what I said? No. I said, you may be an alum of North High, but it's in Ward 3.
That's all that best player. I would have talked over 12 times.
Give him a second to get out.
Time. Give them time to transition. That's always fun when you get kids playing with you.
Chair got You're mentioning some of those tomorrow, aren't you? Did she know I'll give you my list?
He came in this night, was sleeping this afternoon on the, he was tired. Maybe the babies keep him up all night.
That's some orange and blue? Just one. Okay.
All right, let me see. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4.
Right. Well, I don't have any speakers. Everyone will just ask questions.
Public hearing one, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, public hearing one scheduled to stay pursuant to state law to hear comments on an ordinance approving a lease agreement with the Girl Scout Council of Colonial Coast as lessee for a real property known as 8420 Granby Street in the city of Norfolk. Have an ordinance approving a lease agreement with the Girl Scout Council of Colonial Coast as lessee for the real property known as 8420 Granby Street in the city of Norfolk. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, it appears that the consent agenda will be considered in a block unless otherwise noted. Mr. Malita, you want to make one comment on one? Want to pull something, sir?
I think there's a change to C4, conditions, Black Eyed Peas
Would you
Restaurant.
like to pull that to the regular, sir?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, except for the C4.
Thank you. Approve the consent agenda and dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinances twice and adopt with the effective date with the exception of C4. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Mr. Clerk, C4. Mr. Melita, want to explain your amendment, sir?
Based on updated information from the Director of the Department of Planning and Communications with the applicant for this conditional use permit, condition I in Section 2 of the ordinance describing the entertainment that will be permitted at this location will be amended to remove disc jockey as a form of permitted entertainment. So the approval before the council today will be for all the forms of entertainment with the exception, that are requested with the exception of disc jockey.
Thank you. Mr. Bull?
An ordinance granting a conditional use permit to authorize the operation of a restaurant with live entertainment and the sale of alcoholic beverages on premises consumption at an establishment named Black Eyed Peas Restaurant on property located at 241 Granby Street with amendment. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to say I'm going to vote in favor of this, but just want to say thank you and welcome to Black Eyed Peas, and thank you for considering the city of Norfolk. So aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Welcome to Norfolk. Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Thank you and welcome to Norfolk.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr.
Welcome to
Smigiel.
Norfolk.
Mr. Smigiel, thank you. Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. Mr. Clerk, R1.
R1 is an ordinance amending Section 18 of the FY '26 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 49966 so as to accept and appropriate $20,000 from the Carnegie Corporation of New York in celebration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence for the downtown and Van Wyck branches of the Norfolk Public Library and amending the FY 2026 budget to include the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
I want to vote aye, but I have a question. When it says the downtown, are they speaking of the Slover Library?
That is correct.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R2.
R2 is an ordinance amending the FY 2026 Annual Appropriations Ordinance Number 49966 so as to appropriate an additional $32,096 from the Virginia Department of Fire Programs through its Aid to Localities grant for Norfolk's Fire Services for a total of $1,332,096, and clarify the use of the grant in amending the FY 2026 budget to add this amendment. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas. Dr. Alexander.
R3.
R3 is an ordinance amending the FY 2026 annual appropriations ordinance number 49966 so as to appropriate $33,235 in grant funds from the Virginia Crisis Intervention Team Coalition to support the Norfolk Crisis Intervention Team Program, and amending the FY 2026 budget to add this grant. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Aye. R4.
R4 is an ordinance amending the FY 2026 annual appropriations ordinance number 49966 so as to appropriate an additional $22,958.46 in federal substance abuse block grant funds from the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services to support the local recovery courts, and amending the FY 2026 budget to add the same. Dispense with the charter requirement for reading the ordinance twice and adopt with the effective date. Mr. Clanton.
Aye.
Mrs. Doyle.
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson.
Aye.
Mr. McGee.
Aye.
Mr. Page.
Aye.
Mr. Smigiel.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Aye.
Dr. Alexander.
Mr. Clerk, do you have another?
That's all I have, sir.
All right, new business. The first speaker is Ms. Susan Matusik. All right, come right this way. Ms. Matusik. All right.
Dawn Hester gave me this nice.
Oh, wonderful. Come right this way, followed by Reverend Nathan Butler. Okay.
I was bringing it all up here.
All right.
Hold on one second, please.
Okay, I will.
Don't start the clock yet.
I won't.
All right, so. For the eight, and Mr. Rogers has, okay. And I don't know if Alan has one, but I gave PDFs to Alan, so. All right, let me know when I'm starting. Ready? Again, my name is Susan Matusik. Nice to see you all. Hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day, ladies, and Father's Day in June. I'll be back in the area June 1st. I still don't have my house built, but pretty much I wrote about what's been going on in this little packet on page 1. I'm excited to talk to Attorney General Jay Jones's Ms. Smith, his assistant in the Civil Rights Division, about some things that happened to me. And I'm in the process of filling that out, giving y'all time to investigate and get some things. Okay, so I just feel grateful that he's run such a nice office. I just feel like, 18.2, 178.1, financial exploitation of vulnerable adults or seniors. Now, I may have a disability, but I assure you I'm not vulnerable. I will fight back. If someone tries to hurt a senior, an animal, a kid in front of me, I will say something. In Section B, it's unlawful for any person who knows or should know that another person is vulnerable to, through the use of other person's impairment, take, obtain, or convert money, thing of value belong to that person with intent to permanently deprive them thereof. Any person who violates this is guilty of larceny. Matthew Slavinsky, our cop, knows what happened to me after my fire broke in. They broke into my house. Financial exploitation is horrible, and it happens by some of our cops. And it's a shame that some of our cops, not all, there's so many good cops in Norfolk, but some are not, that when you call, they think they want to look at the label and not what's really happening here. Knock it off. I will not be gang-stalked, hunted down by felons, bad moms. The case is in the civil suit up in Virginia Court of Appeals. No person has power over attorney. I don't need to. I've got $300,000 in the bank. I've got a credit score of 786. I've owned 3 houses. So please stop thinking that I'm stupid. The Norfolk police have in the past trespassed on lies and propaganda of felons who killed my cat. The miscarriage of justice by Commonwealth Attorneys Victoria Vickard, Tara Turlinger, Drew Fairbanks, all those people listed is being looked into by appropriate boards above you all. But we do have lawyers on this board, and it's just ridiculous that citizens don't have a voice. When I come back, I'm upset because a lot of my stuff, I wanted it all resolved before I came back. But, you know, I sent you pictures of my house that was going to be built, and then just the rumors, and then people, I had a contract, and then they just pulled out. So I learned from Dawn Hester, who I love, by the way, your city treasurer. She basically, is that 1 minute? 1 minute left? Okay, she basically said, as long as you keep that lawn clean and you're good. So we're paying everything. My Life Matters, Roland Hill, who was killed in Virginia Beach for trespassing with a disability, that's not going to happen. We have lost some faith in some of our law enforcement. We just need to work smarter, not harder. We need the citizens advisory committees and communications. There's a lot of stuff in here with all of you about statutes. If you're not a lawyer, I'm trying to learn with you and what's going on in Virginia. I'm just done. So please, let's work together and make this city unity in the community. And when our kids graduate from high school with disabilities, we got to make sure we have a plan so they can own homes. We can get master's degree. Imagine that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Reverend Nathan Butler, Pastor Dale,
He's new. Oh, nice to meet you.
all right. Jim Casey,
The only Jim Casey here, Jim. It's you, Jim. Come on up.
yes, sir, that's you, sir.
Excuse me. Hello again.
Hello.
Jim Casey, 9649 Dolphin Run. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for your help over the last few years in dealing with noise and safety. And for those new on the council, we've been working this for many years, and hopefully we're going to get there. Problem is, we still got the problem, Mr. Mayor. And we thought they were getting better, but with all those meetings that you helped arrange, the city manager was involved, we had the middle management in. They tried to do things, but, you know, they're in the middle of the layer. So what we think might be useful right now is for maybe you to consider meeting with some higher-level military officials like Airlant and Surflant, the two-stars that are over at the Naval Station Norfolk, as well as meeting with an FAA rep that deals with the eastern region, because right now, the majority of our problem with the airport and also with some of the helicopters is FAA. Now, there are some pluses there that's happened recently, and that is because of the accident out of National, we've got some legislation out of Congress that's talking about they're going to legislate what helicopters can do in relation to commercial airports and that sort of thing. And they're taking positive actions. There was a recent act that was almost passed unanimously by the Senate and almost by the House, but they wanted to redraft it into another one which just got tied up with everything else that's going on right now. The FAA in the interim has made another direct thing to the military, and they basically restricted the helicopters from flying along the coast over there towards the airport, and they're making them reroute their routes in. So that's a positive, but there's other problems the FAA has. For example, we have no noise zones at Norfolk International, none, no noise abatement, and that's something that we need the FAA to help us with, and as far as getting also standard departures out of Norfolk. So all of those things interact with the helicopters and the commercial air. We just don't want an accident to happen, as well as flying low over our houses. And leaving, it's not just our East Ocean view that's having this problem. It's all over Norfolk. I had the opportunity to talk with the Federation of Civic Leagues last week, and a lot of those people are having problems. And even one lady in the back raised her hand and says, if I can read the tail numbers, are they flying too low? So, I mean, that's the problem we've got right now. So we'd like you to help us out a little bit. I have a package here talking about everything, and I have one for each of the council and one for also the city manager.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
by the way, one last thing. You have an excellent person you brought on your staff, Dave Gray. He's your new military affairs liaison. He happens to be, used to be the commander at Little Creek.
Thank you,
He'd be
sir.
happy to help you get squared away on those meetings,
Look
as
forward
well
to
as
it.
we will.
Thank you, Jim. Jefferson Bowersfield? Aye. Followed by Nick Moser.
Oh, excuse me. All right, so like you said, my name is Jefferson Bowersfeld. I'm here with the Tidewater Democratic Socialists of America. Can I have y'all stand up over here? I'm here today to talk about the flock cameras in Norfolk and other cities in Hampton Roads. So I'm an IT worker, so I know a little bit about cybersecurity, and these things are extremely insecure from both a hardware and a software perspective. just to name two things off my head, there's unencrypted or easily decrypted data stored in these things, and many of them have easily accessible hardware ports. I can just plug into it, get everything that's been on that camera in the past at least 2 weeks. No amount of software updates are going to fix this. It is a from the ground up reworking of not only the hardware but the software of these cameras. And they don't reduce crime. Studies have shown they frankly don't reduce crime, but they collect so much data, including our faces, license plates, our movement patterns, and even in some cases our speech, or at least the movements of our lips, which an AI algorithm can interpret what we're saying. So not only can hackers take that data, but federal agencies who aren't supposed to be having access to this data can easily has been given this data, such as the ATF, the Air Force, the GSA Inspector General, and even ICE, to help with their illegal immigration enforcement. So my question to the council is, how does the city of Norfolk protect our data from hacking and misuse by local, state, and federal officials? And my request is to pause all Flock purchases in the future and deactivate every Flock camera in the city until they are completely redesigned from the ground up to not collect so much data and implement industry best practices for security. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick? Nick is followed by Alexander O'Loughlin.
Hello, I'm also here today to express my concern about the Flock camera system that's been installed in Norfolk. This is not really a system that's been designed for solving crime. It's a system that's been designed for mass surveillance, and it's a national scale system, which means that law enforcement and other federal agencies outside the scope of Norfolk can query our data and use AI-powered methods to track people historically. I believe this is a violation of our expectation of privacy, and they are not like traffic cameras, which only capture data on a express violation. These are cameras that are recording all the time. Everybody's motion. These are capturing the license plate, timestamp, and location of every car that these cameras can see, and they're AI enabled, so they're also capturing detailed fingerprinting information such as the make and model and color of cars, any other significant details such as dents and stickers and anything else. Because these cameras are AI enabled, we also know that they have the capacity to do tracking on individuals. And there are many cases where we've seen across the country that these cameras are installed in places that are not just tracking traffic, but they're aimed at playgrounds, they're watching children. These cameras are being abused by officials across the country, and because the network integrates nationally, it is beyond the purview of Norfolk officials to actually tell what happens with that data. So that puts us all in a very vulnerable position, and I feel unsafe whenever traveling and I see that I'm passing a camera. I kind of like shudder inside. I'm like, who's going to know the entire history of where I go when I'm passing through Norfolk? Again, as mentioned previously, it's also the Flock company is partnering with ICE and Palantir, which are both companies that, or both organizations, I suppose, that are, in my view, hostile to humanity and the American people. As said before, the cameras also have an incredibly poor track record with security, which means that not only can state actors be watching us, but also anybody with minimum technological know-how. And I think the $430,000 a year that Norfolk is spending on these cameras could easily be used to prevent crime in other ways, such as providing community support and resources to those most afflicted by poverty. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alexander O'Loughlin, followed by Joni Lillard.
Good evening, Council. Dr. Alexander. I'm also here to express my opposition to the city's use of the Flock automatic license plate readers. I don't believe that residents should be subject to this dragnet-style surveillance tactic that tracks the movements of everyone as they move throughout our city. At the last council meeting where we were allowed to speak, I spoke about some of the findings that the Virginia State Crime Commission had published that covered how different law enforcement agencies throughout the state use these systems and how they, I spoke about the findings from the Virginia State Crime Commission showing that some agencies have used these systems outside the limits that were set by Virginia law. So we now know that misuse is not just theoretical. It's been openly acknowledged by the law enforcement agencies themselves that responded to the report. Today I want to focus on something related from my perspective as a security professional, and that's auditability. In systems like this, audit logs are what allow us to verify that access and actions performed are authorized, appropriate, and lawful. They're what turn policy into accountability. But recent reporting has raised concerns about how Flock handles audit logs. One analysis found that audit log entries, which included unique IDs, timestamps, have been changed between downloads, with up to 7% of records shifting day to day. If that's the case, then the record of who accessed the data, when it was accessed, why it was accessed, it's not reliable. So we end up in a situation where misuse has already been shown to occur, and at the same time, the system responsible for detecting that misuse can't be trusted. So at that point, accountability depends on trust, not evidence. As we like to say in the security game, if the logs can change, so can the truth. I don't think that me or my neighbors should have to highlight the abuse potential, the poor security, or the lack of trustworthy audits to just say that we really don't want to be surveilled. And so I bring all this up because it highlights a broader concern. Systems like this collect massive amounts of data, sensitive data, I might add, and therefore they should rely on strong safeguards to prevent misuse. When those safeguards are called into question, the risk isn't theoretical anymore. So this is just another example of why deploying a system like this with this level of access creates a real risk for Norfolk residents. And for those reasons, I urge the council to terminate Norfolk's contract with Flock and remove the cameras. I believe Norfolk can't pursue public safety without subjecting its residents to an expansive surveillance network, whether it's properly audited or not. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Joni Lillard?
Good evening. I'm also here to join my friends and colleagues in opposition to Norfolk's use of Flock cameras, and I would like to offer a slightly different argument. Recently, pardon me. If any of you recall the Super Bowl commercial of the Ring cameras, where they illustrated the search party feature in which any camera could be activated immediately to search for an entity on those cameras, Flock is essentially a similar surveillance network, except constantly active, without a trigger for a request. It is constantly collecting this surveillance data of everything it can see in Norfolk, including both drivers and pedestrians. I, for one, would not like my friends and neighbors to be subjected to this panopticon any further, and I also support the discontinuation of the Flock contract with Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you. Samuel Willis?
Good evening, councilors. I'd like to thank you for remaining present and allowing us to voice our concerns to you directly. As promised, since it does not appear that the council took our previous appeals last month into consideration, I am here again to express my strenuous opposition to the city's contract with Flock Group, Inc. The city spends a minimum of $500,000 a year to pay an out-of-state corporation to install and operate private cameras on our streets, capturing as much data on the free movement of innocent citizens as possible, while also absorbing the legal costs of defending the program, which I am sure have not been insignificant. In exchange, Flock Group, Inc. provides the local police department with a rolling 30-day window of footage and data for law enforcement purposes. It purports to delete the footage outside of that window, which the contract defines as still images captured by the hardware in the course of and provided via the services. The privacy protections in this contract have loopholes large enough to drive a truck through. To begin, there is no provision in the contract for Flock to delete any actual data, only the still images from which it derives that. I think there is very little reason to believe that Flock does not possess all of the information it has ever derived from any of its Norfolk cameras in its corporate databases. Additionally, whether Flock means that it deletes the actual images in its storage or merely deletes them from the service provided to Norfolk PD is open to interpretation. There is no provision to stop the information it gathers on Norfolk citizens from being accessed by anyone other than Norfolk PD. In fact, the contract openly advertises that it shares data between customers. Texas police have historically used camera information in other states to prosecute a woman for crossing state borders to exercise her abortion rights. Last week, we discovered that while Flock Group Inc. purportedly canceled its contract with ICE, Florida's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Police have been accessing Flock systems on their behalf and forwarding the data to them anyway. There can be no safety for our community while these cameras remain up. We demand that the city stop paying Flock Group Inc. millions of dollars to spy on us. We want Flock out of our city. We demand an end to this dystopian, dragnet, unaccountable private surveillance network in Norfolk. This crowd will continue to grow month after month and stand in front of you and look you in the eyes until you do the right thing, which is this. Immediately vote to end contract number 9743-0-2023 in accordance with Section 6.2, termination for convenience, and send city workers to cover all existing Flock cameras with plastic bags. Why cover the cameras, you ask? The contract specifically states that the cameras will be removed at Flock's own convenience. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Eugene, Oregon, municipalities voted to end their contracts with Flock after the company breached their trust. They then discovered that Flock continued to operate the cameras for months anyways. Why operate cameras for months when no one is paying you to? The answer is simple. We are not the customer. We are the product. Thank you.
Thank you.